curious, when you see the show and you see the artwork for the show, what do you think of how you look? Do you just see yourself? I mean, how does it feel to see what that looks like?
Yeah, I don't really see myself, which is weird. Although, however, whilst I was filming, as it went on, like less recognized myself like this, because I was more often than not, I was dressed up in my whole like look. So, and I sort of stayed in the accent the entire 4 months or however long it was we shot. So it was sort of weird, sort of becoming English Lily again. But yeah, I don't recognize myself at all, which is very surreal, really quite crazy.
Did you then have to readjust to actually being yourself again once it finished? I mean, did you have a period of where you were like, okay, everybody leave me alone while I become me again?
Yeah, I do actually find that always hard after you've played a character, like increasingly, and I've recognized that, but it's been more subtle because I played characters that, that I look like myself or it's not the biggest stretch. So with this, it was more glaringly obvious. And I did have to sort of actively take myself off and go to the English countryside and just like go on long walks and sort of assimilate back into myself.
You previously talked about how you barely met Sebastian, that he was pretty much Tommy Lee and you were pretty much Pamela. So is this the most transformative role you've done? Have you ever played another character that you felt you've taken on this fully?
It was definitely the most challenging role I've ever played and transformative for sure. I literally could not have ever imagined having the opportunity to play Pamela Anderson or that anyone would have ever thought of me to do it. Yeah, Sebastian and I really, I think I saw him twice for 2 like afternoons of rehearsal and then only ever on set at the shoot. I mean, we were working such crazy hours. Sometimes they'd be like 18-hour days. And so, yeah, which worked really well actually, because for both of us, we were making such a leap and really sort of trying to be great custodians of these characters. And so there was a lot of effort involved. And so, yeah.
You bring such a vulnerability and dimension to your portrayal, as well as moments of real strength, which make the viewer feel so deeply for her and the situation that she finds herself in. Where did that come from? Do you feel that that developed out of your own understanding of her and your own feelings about how all of this affected her?
Yeah, I think obviously I did like all the research I could possibly do. I worked really hard to feel like I was as informed as I possibly could be. Of course, there is so much I could never know and will never know. However, I read her books, her watched everything she'd ever done, her TV shows, her movies, her poetry, and then beyond that, it was, yeah, how do I relate? And to be honest, a lot of it just feels like relatable as a woman, like to feel that there's something really unjust going on in the double standards between how men and women are treated, and to feel the sexism involved in the whole of the media and even the legal system, and to feel I, as a young actress, know what it feels like to feel like at times you're like not taken that seriously or you're patronized. And so there was a lot in it that felt deeply relatable and deeply human. And I think that's why it's going to hopefully people will. And when you really find out what really happened, like that this was a crime against a couple that's newlyweds and their private property was stolen, it's just like, I kind of explored that as I would any character of trying to feel how would I feel if that happened to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy that there is this crime that was committed, but at the same time, the worst part is that it's not a crime the way that she was treated because of it. I mean, it feels like that is the bigger crime and it's not a crime at all.
Yeah, legally sanctioned crime. Yeah. Yeah.
There are a number of layers to what you pulled off in bringing her to life. There's the work that you did studying her, there's the physical transformation, and then the humanity of it all. So were there things that you ever did to keep yourself in check to make sure that it never became a caricature or impression? How did you keep track of that?
Well, Obviously, I never wanted it to be a caricature. I always wanted to try and play her authentically. I have huge, huge, huge respect for her and I really admire her. So I didn't want to, there was no sense that I wanted to be a real person, you know, as much as like, and be, as I said, as informed as possibly to learning about her. And then I really had great directors, you know, starting off with Craig Gillespie, who is just, he's so cool. And he comes at things with such a strong angle and such a strong point of view. And he really gives you in like little clues into how to attack a scene or look at a certain moment that's surprising. And that unlocks so much for you as an actor. So you feel really free and spontaneous. And then we had Lake Bell and Hannah Fidel and our amazing director at the end, Gwyneth, and I was being led, you know, I was being looked after. And also our writers, DV and Rob, who, you know, were the other people that I felt like had done as much, had worked as hard on Pamela as I had, you know, and they were there every day. So I felt like there was a lot of custodians of the role and a lot of people making sure we were sort of telling the story we wanted to tell.
You signed on to do this, threw yourself into the preparation, and then it sounds like you had a bit of a panic, feeling like you wanted to quit before shooting. So what were you most scared of in that moment? And how did you finally get past the fear enough to channel it into the performance?
You know, I really do often feel like I want to go. I remember doing a play in the West End, and if someone had said to me just before the show every single night at 7:15, if they'd gone, you can leave out the back door and you won't lose your career over it, I'd have gone. I don't care about the whole audience of people, I'm out. So I think that's a general fear and anxiety that I have, which is like stage fright or a version of fright. But with this, it just felt like such a huge responsibility, and I felt like I just stopped. There was a moment where I just stopped believing that I could do it and do her justice and be convincing. And I it really also, the whole transformation with the makeup and the look and the body and everything didn't happen till right like at the start line, you know. So I had to have a huge faith in the makeup and hair team and that we were going to get there. And at one point I was really just was scared that we wouldn't. And it's really the biggest challenge I've ever had as an actor. So, and feeling that responsibility, it all just was quite terrifying.
Similarly, did you have a moment where you really then were in the character, in all of that, and you thought, okay, I've really got this?
Well, I think in the moment in scenes, particularly with Sebastian, he's such a great scene partner. And there were moments where I really believed what we would do. Like, well, I really always believed what we were doing. And I felt really in it with him. And we found like our version of this again, like, of course, we're just basing this on what we know. And we found our sort of truth in it. And it felt real and honest. And so that was exciting. But you can never really pinpoint who someone is or pinpoint a character. It's always like growing and moving depending on the day and what you're reacting to. And there's such a huge shift in the series. I mean, it starts out with this like huge meeting and falling in love and like them against the world. And then there's like the worst possible thing you could sort of imagine happening to a newlywed couple happens, and this huge violation of their privacy and this crime, and everything spirals from then. So it got pretty heavy pretty fast.
What do you hope people take from what they learn about her in this and from this series, especially, you know, because we do get to learn so much that we didn't know before. What do you hope people know about her after this?
Well, you know, the whole aim of the story really was to show the sort of untold story and to look at what really, really happened, which was, as we've talked about, like a crime. This private property was stolen. It happened at the same time as the internet and this first fight. It's unbelievable what happened in this video, you know, was spread over the world. And we want to look at that truthfully and look at the consequences and explore what that means as a woman, what that meant to experience that. And really honestly to look at our own culpability as and our own behavior in perpetuating this kind of culture of obsession and privacy being violated and negativity. And so I think the show is at times uncomfortable for the audience. If they really engage with it on that level, I think that's what the show is asking of us, you know. So yeah.
Well, thank you for talking to me about it, and really tremendous work in this, because it's just incredible to watch both of you in this.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.